All right, hopefully my microphone's working. I just had a crazy experience. I've been having slightly an existential crisis here. I'm making a few changes on some things. I've done, I don't even know, 20 plus hours of video work on this channel in the last month. Each video, an hour long, takes at least 5 hours of researching and writing out the script and editing and organizing and researching on repeat. So every hour video, there's at least 5 hours average of work that goes into it. And so I was kind of having an existential crisis. There are some structural things that I am changing on a few archetypes in my moral load series here. So I've actually updated my key cards and I will be showing those on the screen. This video is going to be linked under each of the archetypes that I am shifting some things around. So I just took a few days to emotionally chill out, intellectually chill out, and regroup, reorganize, and figure out how I'm going to go about, you know, upgrading, updating, and discussing this topic. So, yeah, I heard a noise behind me before I started filming, and I thought it was just a little tiny mouse. Like, I'm in an industrial sized farm shed. We store equipment in here. This is just like my little corner of the world to do my work with, privacy and, just my own creative space. It was a raccoon. I literally had a raccoon hiding behind a monitor underneath this it's flip-flop desk behind me. I thought it was a mouse. I turned around and it wasn't scared at me whatsoever. Totally cute. I tried talking to the raccoon, telling him that he needs to leave. He knocked over my energy drink and got on top of my computer like a cat would, and it was just a wild scenario. Took me about 15 minutes to convince this raccoon to get out, go somewhere else. There's plenty of trees around here. Like, move on along. You can't stay here. And so we finally came to a negotiation. So my cat was upset. I was upset. All right, so we are here. I'm doing this video, and yeah, that whole scenario is going to be linked under five, more than that, probably 8 different videos. So yeah. All right, so farm problems. You never know what goes on the farm. So anyways, 3 minutes introduction. That was just a wild scenario. So that reminded me to laugh, to chill out, to not have an existential spiraling panic. Things can be corrected and updated, and everything is good. So, all right. All right. So I think I have done myself. Okay, let me get organized. I thought I was organized. And I'm not fully organized. I just alrighty then. I thought I was fully ready for this. Give me one moment. Oh, great. Okay, so this, oh, okay, I see what I did to myself. All right, so I am just a hot mess. All right, so I'm totally a hot mess. I am now where I need to be. I've been very upset at myself. This is a creative space. This is an intellectual space. This is a spiritual space. Like, I have a lot going on here. Native American teachings as well, masculine, feminine. I mean, this is a lot of theory, it's a lot of insight, it's a lot of sage work, wisdom. It is what it is. It's creative. This is my creative outlet. I have been researching many, many topics for over a decade now, and so this is just like a huge compilation of my mind. So you are literally welcome into my mind. I don't talk to anyone mostly about this stuff in depth like I do on this channel in person. I don't know anyone else doing this type of work personally. Different people understand different bits and pieces, but this is just like a lifetime of work. So, welcome in. I apologize. It's been one of the craziest introductions. All right, so we're jumping in. Before we get into this, I need to ground what this is, what changed, and why this video matters so much. Because this is not a casual update. I already need different music. All right, so because this is not a casual update, this is not me changing my mind for no reason, and this is not me throwing out the system. What this actually is a structural correction. It is a refinement of the framework itself. The archetypes did not collapse, the patterns did not disappear, the behaviors did not suddenly become false. What happened is that I pushed the system deep enough that a few hidden inconsistencies finally revealed themselves. So I've been hard at this for over a month now, and I work on this almost every single day for hours on end. So I've put in a lot of time and effort in literally updating my entire system. I combine many different systems together: Eastern philosophies, Western philosophies, astrology, psychology. So I combine a lot of different things together, and I am actually at a point in my own work where I am like literally upgrading the entire what I've been doing here. So this is very structural. It's very important. I take it very seriously, too seriously, but this is just my passion. I am an Aries rising. Like, I'm extremely passionate about this stuff. I'm like 85% Capricorn or ISTJ. So I'm very like, I feel like this is my duty, my responsibility. Yes, it's my creative work, but it's very business serious. It is what it is. So, and once I saw them, I could not keep speaking about them the old way because the old wording no longer matched the deeper mechanics underneath. So my name is Heather with Underwater Panther, and what I've been building here is not just personality content. It's not just astrology content. It is not just a typology hobby. It is a framework. So I am an INTJ Aquarius, 11th house Mercury. So I am all about, I'm an archetype. Like, I want to understand systems. So, framework. A framework for understanding how identity forms, how pressure distorts people, how behavior organizes itself under stress, and why different archetypes do not simply act differently, but survive differently. So, I am almost through my moral load bearing series. So, I am okay with my masculine through feminine series. Overall, I went through all of the archetypes and explained how they function as a whole with their masculine and feminine leading energies under pressure. This moral framework, I'm okay with all the moral load. I'm not changing my ranking in my moral load bearing series or system framework, whatever you want to call it. I am not changing the ranking order. There are a few inner and outer masculine quadrants and a couple of distortion orders that I am changing. And so this, I have locked everything in. I have now updated my key cards, and I am now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make these a few changes and finish out the moral load bearing series. I've got 3 archetypes left: Sagittarius, Aquarius, and Gemini. So I'm very set and solid in my updates. I just wanted to get this video out and let you know what I updated and show you my not new key cards. I made these 8 or 9 years ago. I just literally put the inner and outer masculine and feminine quadrants on the key cards so there's no more freaking confusion. This is a ton of information, so I'm very organized. I am currently working on a 700 plus page ebook that is very, very foundational. So, this framework maps inner and outer processing, masculine and feminine function, distortion patterns, and moral load. It looks at what a person does, but more importantly, it asks why they do it in that order and what the order reveals about how their nervous system learned to survive reality. So, the inner and outer masculine and feminine is dealing with inner nervous system containment under moral pressure. All right, so it looks it looks at what a person does, but more importantly, it asks why they do it in that order and what the order reveals about how their nervous system learned to survive reality. So each archetype psychologically, let me just bring up Pisces. No, I'll bring up Aries because it is Aries season. Welcome to Aries season, everyone. Happy spring. Aries rising here. I've got 2 coworkers that are having their birthdays this week and weekend. So Aries, I love Aries. I have a lot of Aries energy in my family. I am an Aries rising. So, so I am talking, okay, so psychologically, they say that so this is the ego. It's broken up into 4 different quadrants, astrologically and psychologically. Now, what I have been doing for over the last month is upgrading into explaining inner and outer, masculine and feminine containment within an archetype, their nervous system under pressure. And so, what is that order? There's a universal order. So, psychologically, it would be the hero, parent, child, and inferior cognitive functions. So, they say the hero starts developing between the ages of 1 and 12, parent 12 to 20, child 20 to 30, 35, inferior. You start working on that when you're 35 years plus older, give or take. This is just ballpark. That's what the psychological arena people say. Astrologically, they go further out into your entire lifespan. This is specifically talking about the ego. All right, so astrologically, you have the ruler, exaltation, left field, and fall for one specific archetype. Okay, so astrologically, psychologically, they line up. They add tons of information. I don't know anyone else doing this. So I am literally not changing, but I am discussing now inner and outer, masculine and feminine within an archetype. Each quadrant is different, and there's a distortion order. Psychologically, it's supposed to be hero, parent, child, inferior. Now, normally, if you look at the plus sign, the hero and the child we tend to develop first. They are easier to use cognitively, energetically speaking. It costs less energy to use the positive functions, so we tend to rely on those functions the most growing up throughout our life. And so I am discussing the distortion order. Yes, it aligns with psychology quite a bit, but not all archetypes. So that's what I've been battling the last couple of days, having my existential crisis. I intuited this, when you first start a new series, the first 2, 3, 4 videos are like literally trial and error. You're starting something fresh and new, and by the time you get 10 more videos out, you're starting to refine your system. So that's what I'm doing. I went out many more archetypes, and I'm realizing, okay, I changed my mind on a few things. So that's what I'm explaining in this video. I'm now at like a 15-minute opener. Okay, so this is not about stereotypes. It's not about flattening people into cartoon traits. It's not about reducing a whole human being on one label and pretending that explains everything. This is about seeing the pattern architecture underneath behavior. It is about understanding how the nervous system organizes reality. So I'm honestly going to just keep this up for a moment so you can kind of familiarize yourself with what my language and what I'm talking about. All right, so it is about seeing the pattern architecture underneath behavior. It is about understanding how the nervous system organizes reality, how people develop under pressure instead of in an ideal condition, and why certain archetypes move the way they do when things are stable and especially when they are not. What started for me as an individual breakdowns of archetypes turned into something much bigger. It became a system of survival patterns because once you start watching long enough, comparing enough people, comparing enough pressure responses, comparing enough collapse loops, you realize something very important. People are not random. So I did start over 10 years ago with astrology, and I started on myself and I studied myself, my own chart for a year, started buying tons and tons of books. So I just immersed myself for about a year and a half. And then I slowly started asking those closest to me and comparing their birth charts and kind of just studying people, from afar. I know people, it's family, coworkers. I did like 300, I can't remember how many actual birth charts of people that I worked with every single day for years on end. So, like, I really tested this in the field as well. Now I have backed away from that. I haven't done that in ages. I am just to a point in my own work where I'm not trying to convince anyone that this is what it is. Like, that's not what this is. I've done a lot of field work. I've done a lot of one-on-one work, myself. I put myself in something before even start talking about it. So I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've gotten to this point in my work where I am really doing some foundational. This is so exciting. After this, I'm going to start getting into dynamics between archetypes. And that's normally where people's channels blow up because everyone wants to know relationship dynamics. Well, I started foundationally. I've been doing this for a very long time. I just want to come at it. I'm a pioneer. I'm an Aries. I have created my own system on systems. So all right, so, um, all right, so where was I? Because once you start watching long enough, comparing enough people, comparing enough pressure responses, comparing enough collapse loops, you realize something very important. People are not random. They are patterned. Their reactions are patterned. Their coping styles are patterned. Their conflict styles are patterned. So yes, I'm an INTJ. I've got NI hero. I all I see are patterns, and I track tons. The amount of information that I read daily, listen to daily, organize daily, notate daily is insane. I've been this way my entire life. When I was 5 years, however old, I don't know, remember, 7, probably 7 or 8, when you can read pretty well. I would sit in my grandmother's basement and read Britannicas. Like, she had so many huge books. I would just sit there and read. I've been this way my entire life. So I sift through tons of information. I see patterns. So their growth path is patterned. Even their confusion is patterned. And once that becomes visible, you stop looking at personality as decoration and start seeing it as adaptation. So in this video, we're doing two things. First, I'm going to explain what changed in the system and why. Not because I want to revisit old ground or re-explain things unnecessarily, but because the integrity of the system depends on precision. If the structure underneath is even slightly off, the conclusions that come from it will eventually become inconsistent. I'm a stellium in Capricorn, ISTJ archetype. I am a stellium. My moon, my Neptune, my Saturn, my Uranus, like, my midheaven is Capricorn. So I take this very seriously. And when I make a foundational mishap or change my mind, it's like borderline existential. So, like, I had to sit on this for a few days. Like, what am I going to do about this? And this is it. So I've changed my key cards for those of you that have been here, newer people. If you've been watching me for a while, you've seen these key cards. which means I'm going to have to go into every single ebook. I don't think I'm going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that actually. From here on out, I'm working on a 700-page book. From here on out, this is the key cards that you will see. So you can see the outer masculine, inner masculine. So OM is outer masculine. I'm going to make this bigger for a brief moment. So the OM is outer masculine, IM inner masculine, OF outer feminine, and IF is inner feminine. And then if you look closely, I can't see it on here hardly. The distortion order is on the key card. So you will see OM act, IM analyze, I can't read that, OF understand, and IF reflect. So that is Aries distortion order that they normally develop under. So each key card has that on it. No more confusion. It's there now. I am locked in. All right. And I've known about, I'm not the only one that does the inner and outer masculine and feminine. I'm coming from it from a nervous system lens. It's under pressure. It is a little different from the psychological. Like normally the extroverted functions are masculine and the introverted functions are feminine. They don't go into the inner and outer masculine and feminine. It's just it's just either extroverted masculine or introverted feminine. So that's how the psychological people are looking at it. I am taking this to a nervous system level under pressure and combining everything together. It's a lot. All right, so if the structure underneath is even slightly off, the conclusions that come from it will eventually become inconsistent. And I'm not interested in building something that only works on the surface. I'm interested in building something that holds under pressure across time, across examples, and across real world behavior. So what I'm doing here is tightening the foundation so everything that comes after this is actually reliable. And the second thing we're going to do is walk through all 12 archetypes again cleanly with the corrected structure in place, not in a repetitive way, but in a way that locks in clarity. So by the end of this video, you're not just going to recognize traits, you're going to understand sequence. You're going to understand why someone moves the way they do, why they get stuck where they do, and why certain patterns repeat no matter how much awareness is present. Because awareness alone does not change sequence, structure does. As I continue building this system across all 12 archetypes and testing it against real behavior, I started noticing something that didn't immediately break the model, but created subtle inconsistencies when I went deeper. All right, so the archetypes still make sense. The behaviors still match. The distortion loops still show up exactly where they should, but the placement of masculine and feminine within certain quadrants was slightly misaligned. And that matters more than it sounds because masculine and feminine are not aesthetic labels in this system. They're functional positions. They determine whether something directs or adapts, whether it enforces or responds, whether it collapses reality into action or expands awareness to take it in. So when those are placed incorrectly, you can still describe what someone is doing, but you cannot accurately track why they're doing it in that specific order. And if you can't track the order, you can't predict the outcome. That was the issue, not surface level accuracy, but structural precision. So I did private the videos that I've made corrections on so that I can make this video and link it under each of those videos, description and comment box, so that the updates are there. So the old videos still hold immense amounts of information. Some of them are 2 hours long, and so really this is just about the inner and outer masculine and feminine, which is different from what anyone else is doing. I've never come across this in my entire life. So that's why this is so important to me. All right. So, and once that became clear, 5 archetypes stood out immediately as needing correction. So that was Capricorn. I'm going to take this off now. So that was Capricorn. My first video I did was about Capricorn, then it was Scorpio. So the earlier archetypes I did when I just started this series, and literally I had like I can't I don't know. I don't know where this idea I can't even remember where this idea came from. Like, I've been thinking about this for a very long time, years, like 9 years, like the inner and outer masculine and feminine. They do it psychologically, but this is entirely different. So I don't have anyone else to bounce my ideas off of. It's literally me arguing with myself and my thousands and thousands of notes. All right. So Capricorn, Scorpio, Virgo, Taurus, and Leo. Not because they were completely wrong, but because they were just misaligned enough that the deeper mechanics weren't fully reflected. And once I corrected those placements, everything else snapped into place. The system stopped conflicting with itself. So I intuited this earlier on. I battled with it, and I'm like, no. But as I got through almost all of the archetypes, I'm like, yes, I have to change a few things. So, especially when you start like comparing polar opposites, like Aries and Libra, Taurus, Scorpio, Gemini, Sag, Cancer, Capricorn, Leo, Aquarius. Who'd I miss? Virgo and Pisces. Yes, polar opposites. When you start comparing polar opposites, you start, it's a really good way to make sure that what you have, your information lines up, actually. That's a secret for sure. All right, so I'm going to knock over my entire thing. I got to adjust. All right, so, all right, where was I? And once I corrected those placements, everything else snapped into place. The system stopped conflicting with itself. The patterns became consistent across all 12, and the model moved from something descriptive into something predictive to an extent. I do want to remind the psychological people that I do take the four sides of the mind into consideration. I do mine a little different though. I still prioritize astrology, the birth chart, when it comes to the ego, subconscious, unconscious, and superego. The superego is your rising sign. Your sun sign is your ego, along with your Mercury, as long as you're 35 years old plus, depending on how you're raised. Unconscious, subconscious is your moon sign. Your unconscious is, I am still deeply in that rabbit hole. It's like your Saturn. It's your I'm gonna do a whole video on that. It's just a lot. It can be your Mars. There's a lot going on there. So astrology holds more weight for me when it comes to the four sides of the mind. All right. So the 5 archetypes that I want to go over: Capricorn, ISTJ, Scorpio, ENFP, Virgo, ESFP, Taurus, ESTJ, and Leo, ESFP. All right, so Scorpio is the clearest example. Now let me get to my master key card over here. And all right, so let me adjust my... All right, so I've got a lot of things going on. All right, so I'm going to start with Scorpio. And I'm going to do timestamps as well because that introduction was absolutely wild. And I know people are going to want to fast forward. And that's totally understandable. All right. I feel like I need to scoot over. All right, so we're going to start with Scorpio. Scorpio is the clearest example of why this correction matters. So let me actually bring up the key card and put it over here. I'm going to make it just a little smaller. Hopefully you can see it well enough. As I struggle to be in screen enough, I'm actually probably going to make Scorpio a little smaller. All right, good deal. All right, so Scorpio, can you see all? You cannot see all of I can't tell how in screen this is. All right, I think that you can. Okay. Looks good to me. Okay, so Scorpio is the clearest example of why this correction matters. Scorpio does not begin with perception, even though it often looks that way from the outside. Scorpio begins with feeling, but not emotional feeling in the way people usually think about it. It begins with a nervous system level detection of threat, inconsistency, or instability. That comes first before language, before logic, before conscious interpretation. Then comes hardening. Let's see, where was I? Where internal boundaries form and access is restricted. So first you have feeling with the inner feminine of introverted sensing, inferior, and moon and fall. Now, Scorpio was the Capricorn and Scorpio actually were the hardest ones. I don't know why everything's so dark all of a sudden. So Capricorn and Scorpio, the hardest archetypes to understand, the inner and outer masculine and feminine, and I freaking started with the two hardest ones in this series, so I can't be as mad at myself as I was 2 days ago. So, all right, so their distortion order is feel, harden, strike, or enforce, scan, and perceive, which is late. Now you can see that order on your screen down below. I even put, the feeling is inner feminine, harden is inner masculine, strike and force is outer masculine, scan and perceive is outer feminine. So do you see what I'm saying? I've actually put, you know what? I'm actually going to help my own self. Well, it's just late. I'm getting tired. All right. So we've got Scorpio starting with the inner feminine, SI inferior. I think this is the only archetype that starts in the inferior position, which the psychological people would argue to the moon and back with me on this. So that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. I will make many more Scorpio videos. So that is the biggest freaking change that we've made. All right, so Scorpio does not begin with perception, even though it looks like it. So we're talking about extroverted intuition hero. That's the perception aspect. So it looks like it would begin with the hero, perception, even though it often looks that way from the outside. So Scorpio begins with feeling, SI, inferior, and moon, but not emotional feeling in the way people usually think about it. It begins with a nervous system level detection of threat, inconsistency, or instability. So you see that more when you look at it from the Scorpio lens. And all of this information, it goes into the 8th house. It goes into Mars and Pluto. There's just a lot being combined here that it's just amazing. Once I've sat on these for ages, and so it's just I can't explain combining all this together. It just gives so much more, you know structure, feeling. You can really, like, even sitting here and looking at this key card, it, like, every time I look at it, I see something, I make another connection. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, so that comes first, before language, before logic, before conscious interpretation. So then comes hardening. So hardening is the inner feminine, or the inner masculine, with FI parent, Uranus in exaltation. All right, so that is the hardening, where internal boundaries form and access is restricted. So that's the inner masculine. Then comes enforcement, where those boundaries are acted on in reality. Strike or enforcement with TE child, Earth, and Venus. I'm going to do a huge breakdown of freaking Scorpios striking with extroverted thinking child, Earth, and Venus. Like, this is the biggest revelation I have made it's a huge revelation, and that's their outer masculine, which is confusing because you've got Earth and Venus there. Normally, they're seen as feminine. Extroverted thinking would call it outer masculine. So it took me a while I battled with this one the most, and then the Capricorn, what I changed. So then comes enforcement, and only after that does perception fully activate. The outer feminine with extroverted intuition hero, Pluto, and Mars. All right, so I'm going to do one thing before I drive myself insane. Inner feminine. All right, let me make absolute for certain that I've got everything updated. This is so imperative. So inner feminine, SI inferior, feel. Harden, we have inner masculine, FI parent. Yep. And then we have strike and force with outer masculine, TE child. And then outer feminine. Okay, everything is good with the extroverted intuition hero, Pluto Mars. Okay. So that is the outer feminine with the scanning and perceiving. All right. So only after all the SI, FI, TE are activated, only then does perception fully activate. So the sequence is not perceive, then act. It is feel, harden, enforce, then perceive. And that changes everything because it explains why Scorpio's perception feels absolute. It is not neutral observation. It is perception filtered through a system that has already decided something is wrong. By the time Scorpio is engaging externally, they are not exploring possibilities. They are executing conclusions that were formed internally much earlier. This is why it feels intense. This is why it feels final. And this is why it can feel like scorched earth. Scorched earth. Scorpios are notorious for burning people. They will burn everyone. Scorched earth. They are the odd man out of the water signs. I hardly call them a water sign. They're extremely fiery. And they have introverted feeling parent, introverted feeling cognitive function. Cancer and Pisces both have extroverted feeling. They're all about other people's emotions and feelings and catering to that, people pleasing. Scorpios are all about their own inner emotions and feelings. They do not freaking people please. So, okay, I am set in this. I feel good. I've done hours of videos on this already, but this is it. This is it. I've made up my mind. All right, so Scorpio, the most important correction. Scorpio required the biggest refinement because Scorpio does not begin with perception. Scorpio begins with feeling at the nervous system level. So the correct sequence is inner feminine, inner masculine, outer feminine. Feel, harden, strike, perceive. So the shift here clarified that perception is not first, it is last and reactive. And that changes everything about how Scorpio is understood. All right, so now we're going to move on to Capricorn. All right, so I'm actually going to pull this up on my phone because I cannot see OBS screen for the life of me. I don't know why they would do that, but alrighty then. All right, so Capricorn. You know, I don't know why. Give me one moment. Okay, so it's not off too bad. It's just off for some reason a little bit. I do apologize. Okay. I think I've got most of it in screen. All right, there we go. Okay, Capricorn. All right, so Capricorn, on the other hand, reveals a different kind of misinterpretation. Capricorn does not begin by reacting to reality, it begins by carrying reality. So we've got the distortion order is carry, build, feeling, perception. So inner masculine, you see I am inner masculine with introverted sensing hero and Saturn ruler. And then we have outer masculine with extroverted thinking parent and Mars in exaltation. That is build. And then we have feeling with the inner feminine, FI child, and moon in left field. And then we have perception late with the outer feminine, and that is extroverted intuition, inferior, and Jupiter in fall. All right, so it begins by carrying. All right, so Capricorn does not begin by reacting to reality, it begins by carrying it. It assumes responsibility before it processes emotion. It builds structure before it expresses feeling. So its sequence is internal structure, internal feeling, then external perception. That means Capricorn often appears stable, composed, and controlled externally while internally processing things much later. Takes them a very long time to process things. I'm 85% freaking Capricorn. The delay is not avoidance, it is sequencing. But over time, that delay accumulates pressure, and that pressure eventually has to be released somewhere. So, Capricorn structure versus emotion timing. All right, so we had to tighten Capricorn to match its true developmental sequence. So Capricorn does not begin with emotion. Capricorn begins with internal structure and responsibility. All right, so inner masculine, inner feminine, outer feminine. Carry, build, feel, perceive. So structure comes before feeling in Capricorn. All right, so now we're going to move on to Virgo. Virgo is tricky for me. My brother is Virgo. And Virgos feel Virgo is like they feel feminine to me, especially the men. Okay. So Virgo begins externally. All right, let me get to my key card so I can actually read it. All right, so Virgo, you have outer feminine help with FE hero and Mercury ruler. Inner feminine with structure and stabilization with SI parent and earth. And then we have inner masculine with hope and reframing with extroverted intuition child and Jupiter and Neptune in the left field. And then we have outer masculine with Venus and introverted inferior. So that threw me off, the Venus and the TI inferior. So Virgo confused me. So it's outer feminine, inner feminine, and that's why they feel so feminine to me. It's just like it's just a thing for me. I'm a lot Capricorn, and if you look at Capricorn, it's inner masculine, outer masculine. They feel pretty masculine to others. And so when I'm around a Virgo, they feel feminine. It's outer feminine, inner feminine. So their distortion order actually goes with the psychological order of the hero, parent, child, and inferior. Not every archetype does this, but a lot actually do. So it's fascinating because you would also say that it could be hero, child, parent, inferior. It just depends on trauma. It depends on how you were raised. It depends on many different factors, your environment, who you're around. But the normal distortion order actually aligns with psychology. Okay, so Virgo begins externally. It does not start by analyzing itself. outer feminine. It starts by correcting what is out of alignment in its environment. So the outer feminine is Mercury and extroverted feeling. So the talking, it's very mechanical though. They maintain things. Where was I? It starts by correcting what is out of alignment in its environment. Maintenance. It moves towards fixing, organizing, stabilizing, and improving what is in front of it. Then it builds internal structure. Then it allows space for possibility or hope. And only at the end does it disengage or exit when the system no longer holds. This is why Virgo can give repeatedly without immediate collapse, but it is also why the collapse, when it comes, is quiet and final. Introverted thinking, sword, icy sword of truth, they call it. Virgo needed a precision adjustment between the inner masculine and the inner feminine. So I flip-flop inner masculine, inner feminine. Yeah. According to psychology, introverted sensing, I think they look at it like feminine. That would be inner feminine. So, like, I battled with that. Inner masculine, they would say that that's more of an outer masculine because it's extroverted intuition. But yeah, so some things align, some things don't. I think most of it aligns. It's just all very fascinating. So, Virgo does not begin with hope. Virgo begins with external responsibility and correction, then builds internal structure, then holds possibility, then exits. All right, so that is what I changed with Virgo. This is now concrete in my key card. I am not changing anything else on these key cards. All right, so Taurus. Where did you go? Taurus, there you are. All right, so now moving on to Taurus. I'm at an hour. All right, so Taurus. I was actually going to go deeper into these, but I do not have enough time. So I am doing a brief recap. All right, not really recap. It's more of structural. All right, so anyways, Taurus. Let me bring my key card up. Okay, so Taurus, you can see I've actually put this on the key card so you can see the distortion order. So we have inner feminine with body or freeze. So inner feminine is introverted sensing. So this is different according to the psychological people. They would say you develop your hero and then your parent, or your hero and then your child. In this system, you are starting at your parent. Believe it or not, that is not common. But Taurus begins in the body with somatic memory, nervous system storage that aligns with introverted sensing, embodied safety tracking, where Taurus learns the world through the body first. This is dorsal vagal freeze in earth form. Safety becomes sameness. So they stay. That's why I put freeze. They are the bowl. They're fixated in their modality. They just that you can't move them. They are a wall that you cannot move. They are a boulder that you cannot push. So Taurus begins in the body. It does not begin with thought or action. It begins with somatic stabilization, with stillness, with reducing movement, and maintaining safety. Then it controls the environment. So we have outer masculine. I put stabilize or control. So that is extroverted thinking hero, Venus, and Earth. So then it controls the environment. Then it develops values. So the values do come late. It takes quite a while to develop this part, and it is in the inferior. So inner masculine is introverted inferior, and Uranus in fall delayed values, private meaning, internal truth awakening, where Taurus finally begins asking what actually matters. FI is buried deep in Taurus. It doesn't develop early. It wakes up after years of tolerating too much. Truth forces movement. All right, so, and only at the end does it act. So I put perceive or change. This is an interesting one. So the final one is change with the outer feminine, and that is extroverted intuition child, Mars, and Pluto. So this is suppressed alternatives, change awareness, rupture potential, where Taurus finally moves and everyone is confused. Any imagines alternatives, Mars initiates movement, but Taurus suppresses this quadrant for years. They've been metabolizing in silence, which is why Taurus explosions surprise people. They turn into the bull in the china shop, but it takes them a very long time to get there. They suppress this as much as they can, even more so than the inferior. All right, so this is why Taurus can appear calm for long periods of time, even in situations that are not ideal. But when action finally occurs, it is not exploratory, it is decisive. It is the result of a long internal process that was not visible externally. So FI, internal process, and then they explode with Mars, Pluto, and E. So Taurus stability versus movement. Taurus required clarification between control versus change. Taurus does not begin by acting. Taurus begins with somatic freeze and safety, then stabilizes the environment before values even emerge. So we've got the inner feminine, outer masculine, inner masculine, and outer feminine. That is their distortion order. Freeze, control, value, and act. That was a rough one. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Leo. And this is the last one I had to wrestle with. I was wrestling in my sleep even. All right, so I did update my what you're seeing, my master key card here. What you see on the screen, I updated all of this so that now when I bring it on screen, everything will be correct. And I have it on my key card, so no more confusion. This is just so freaking much information to process. It's hard to remember everything. That's why I made these key cards. All right, so Leo begins with expression. All right, Leo. So Leo is outer masculine with extroverted sensing, hero and sun ruling. This is their expression and wanting to be seen. And then we have outer feminine with extroverted thinking, child, Saturn, and Uranus in left field. So that is impress or perform. So they perform with their TE child, Saturn, and Uranus. And then they have inner masculine. They understand with their inner masculine, and that is introverted feeling or FI parent, and Pluto in exaltation. Identity, integrity, emotional sovereignty, deep self-definition. Leo develops a strong internal value system that asks, who am I really? FI forms the emotional core of the identity. Pluto exaltation intensifies transformation. Leo often expresses periods of identity death and rebirth across life. Healthy Leo learns the difference between true identity and performance identity. Let me back up here and explain what TE child is. This is their outer feminine. So expressive leadership, playful execution, and creative command of systems. This quadrant organizes the external world around a Leo identity. TE child experiments with leadership, performance, and organization. Saturn introduces structure and responsibility. Uranus introduces creative originality. So Leo does pull from Aquarius. So they both have the same cognitive functions and planetary imprints, but they are in different quadrants. Leo often naturally mobilizes people through enthusiasm and inspiration. All right, so the last one we have inner feminine with reflect. That is introverted intuition inferior, Neptune, and Mercury in fall. So symbolic foresight, long-term meaning perception, and identity trajectory awareness. And I ask deeper questions. Where is this identity going? Hello, sun ruler. What patterns repeat across time? Neptune introduces imagination, but also illusion, grandeur, illusion of grandeur. Mercury in fall slows internal reflection. The performer becomes the symbolic leader. All right, so this means a Leo's identity is not fake, but it is formed through expression rather than prior to it. The visibility comes first, the internal clarity comes after. Leo expression versus identity formation. So Leo needed refinement in the timing of identity formation. Leo does not define identity before expression. Leo expresses first, then organizes externally, then defines internally, then reflects. So the correct order is outer masculine, outer feminine, inner masculine, inner feminine. Express, perform, define, reflect. Or express, be seen, impress, perform, understand, and reflect. Actually, is what I decided. All right, so, and after aligning these 5, the entire system snapped into place. All right, so yeah, I updated all of my key cards, as you can see. I'm gonna actually make this smaller. For a moment, I'm going to take this key card off. All right, so I also went back and updated all of my key cards visually to reflect this corrected structure. So there's no longer any confusion between inner versus outer, masculine and feminine, or the distortion order. So everything is now aligned across the 12 archetypes. So once these corrections were made, the system aligned completely. There were no longer contradictions between archetypes. The quadrant placements made sense across the board. Polarities help. Like, let me just show you what I mean here. All right, so here is, actually, I'm going to do it this way, if I can. Gosh, they make this so complicated. Like, you can't just click on the actual image on the screen. You have to go to a different thing. Like, they need to immediately fix that. There are so many content creators that are still struggling. Yeah, I get it. Especially when you've got 12 different archetypes on here. I have to make Leo smaller and it's not clicking. Okay, so just so you can see, yeah, this is awesome. So this is polarity difference here, and you can see it on the key cards visually. SE hero, NI inferior, NI hero, SE inferior. You can see the flip-flop of the cognitive functions as well as the planetary imprints. And now the inner and outer masculine and feminine. Yeah. How cool is this system, man? I am freaking stoked. All right, so from there, the foundation becomes clear. The system is built on 4 quadrants: outer masculine, which directs and acts; outer feminine, which interacts and responds; inner masculine, which structures and defines; and inner feminine, which perceives and feels. In a healthy development model, a person would move from perception to safety to values to action. They would first understand what is happening, then feel stable enough to process it, then determine what matters, and finally act. But this is not how people normally develop. People develop under pressure. They develop in environments where something was missing, inconsistent, overwhelming, or unstable. And because of that, the system does not organize itself around what is ideal necessarily. It organizes itself around what worked. Whatever kept the person safest, the earliest becomes the starting point. Whatever kept the person safest, the earliest becomes the starting point, and everything else builds around that. This is what creates distortion order, developmental distortion order, not randomness, but adaptation. So when we move through the 12 archetypes, what we are really looking at is 12 different survival sequences. And now we can walk through the system cleanly. All right, so I'm at an hour. All right, so now that I have these out of order, because I prioritized the top 5 that I changed, I'm going to go briefly through the 12 archetypes. And so we're going to start with Aries, so I'm just going to bring Aries up here while I do the introduction. All right, so this is my system foundation from here on out. All right. So this system is based on astrology, psychology, and now inner and outer masculine and feminine containment. All right. So the outer masculine represents action and direction, outer feminine, interaction and response, inner masculine, structure and definition, inner feminine, perception and feeling. So I am going to have a huge master book on this. And so that will be available for purchase eventually. I'm assuming it's going to take me another month to get the book done. It's heavy, very, very heavy lifting. I wanted to get these videos out first and really hone in on and refine it and then edit it. All right. So inner masculine is structure and definition. Inner feminine is perception and feeling. So healthy development would be perception, safety, values, and action. But archetypes don't develop that way. So let me actually bring this key card up. So it's another visual representation of what the heck is going on. I just need to make this bigger for myself. I don't know why. It seems like it's cut off some stuff. Not really. Okay. All right. All right. So a healthy development order would be perception, safety, values, action. But archetypes don't develop that way. Some of them do, some of them don't. It can change depending on what is going on in your life. So, but archetypes don't develop that way. Not all. They develop in survival order. All right, so we're going to move through the 12 archetypes. For each masculine and feminine orientation, moral load position, distortion order, and quadrant structure. Okay, so that's a lot. All right. I need to find the information. So masculine and feminine, Aries. Oh my gosh, my MasterCard is insane. Okay, so the masculine and feminine overall, Aries is number 2. Aries are the ESTP. And now I've already made videos on this. So Aries is number 2. All right, and then in the moral load ranking, Aries is number 7 moral load bearer. I have already done that, multiple videos on that, probably 3 hours worth of video. I did that video great. I made no changes on Aries, so that was all good. All right, so Aries is a tier 4 motion nervous system. I wanted to make this brief, but holy crap, there's a lot of information to sift through. Okay, so Aries is action-oriented responsibility according to the moral load. So moral weight, location, immediate action. Aries feels responsible to act, not to reflect. Consequence is secondary to momentum. They'll fix fast, but don't carry long-term moral residue. Moral weight, location. Okay, so why do I have that twice? That's silly. All right, so I did what I could. Burnout risk, impulsivity, misread as selfish and reckless. Aries feels responsible to act, not to reflect. Once action is taken, moral residue evaporates. That's not immorality, that's momentum-based conscience. So the Aries discharges through action. I think I literally just crashed my notes. All right. Give me a moment. I'm going to have to force quit my notes. I do apologize, and I'm going to have to bring it back up. My computer just crashed a little bit. All right, give me a moment. I have to bring my notes back up. What is going on? I'm pushing my computer to the max. This is terrible. I can't bring my notes up. All right, give me a moment. I'm asking the most impatient archetype to give me a moment. Fast forward quickly, hurry. I'll wave when it's ready. Dang, I think I actually crashed it. Oh, wait. It's crashed. Really? What? Oh, no. That's not good. You know what? I have an idea. Why am I doing this to myself? I wanted that up on the screen. That's not gonna freaking work. I'm overloading my computer. All right, so I'm not gonna be able to have that up on screen. I do apologize. I'm going to read it on my phone. All right, so we were talking about Aries moral load bearing, and I went through that enough. So Aries distortion order. Oh, there it is. Oh, we're up and running. No, we're not. It's still not. Oh, is it good? We're good. Thank gosh. Okay. Yeah, it's running. I've got my computer working too hard right now. That's unfortunate. All right, I'm gonna do that for a moment. I need to actually reprint my key cards, and so that's why I'm holding my phone and I'm hotspotting my computer, and it's not having it. I'm trying to get back to my master key card. Where are you? Oh my gosh. I don't even see it. I wonder why. All right, I'm gonna have to actually search for it. That's wild. And it's not bringing it up. My computer is struggling so bad. I've had this computer since 2014 and it's got my life's work on it. I have backups on my phone. But moments like this freak me out. Yeah, it's just not having it. All right, so I'm actually going to probably have to do this video separately because I do want this information on the screen, which seems near impossible right now for some weird reason. It's just not letting me do what I want. All right, it's crashing. All right, so I'm actually going to make this a separate video. Yep, I'm done. All right, so I'm going to go through the 12 archetypes. Yeah, I'm going to go through the 12 archetypes, explaining briefly the masculine and feminine ranking, as well as the moral load bearing, as well as the inner and outer masculine and feminine distortion developmental path. I'm going to make, maybe like an hour video out of it, give or take. I'm not sure. I just want to brief and do the total system on one video. And I think I hammered what I needed to in this video. So I will make this its own video. I'm going to go through the 12 archetypes. I still need to do Sagittarius, Aquarius, and Sagittarius in full, like I have the rest of the archetypes throughout this series. I've got each archetype seems to take 2 to 3 hours, 2, 4, 6. So I can do 2 archetypes in a week, maybe 3. So this is going to take me a whole nother week to finish my series out. So my next video, I will go through the entire 12 archetypes. Not too in depth. I'm going to make it into one over briefing video, and then I will finish out Sagittarius, Aquarius, and Gemini in full, which will probably be 2 to 3 hours per archetype. So that will take me about a week and a half. So I should be done with this moral load bearing, inner and outer masculine and feminine integration of the nervous system series in a week, and I'm going to give myself a week and a half max. Week and a half, videos should be done, and then after that, I might need a break. I'm not sure. I need to do the 700-page book. It will probably take me a good month. I do want to make videos while I'm working on my book, so I might get into the next series. I am going to really be hammering out each archetype's left field, child position, fall, inferior position. I want to hammer out what feeds each archetype's triggers, how they act in conflict, why they are doing that, how to calm that, and do dynamics between archetypes. So that's where this channel is going eventually. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. I do apologize about my old ass computer crashing. It's probably for the best, actually, because this should be its own video. Certainly agree. My computer needs a break. I need a break. So anyways, I am locking this in. It is already locked in on my key cards. This video will be posted under the prior, what was it? Scorpio, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, and Leo. So this video will be posted under those 5 archetypes so that you understand that I have made some corrections. Moving here on out, we are locked in. So anyways, like and subscribe. Hopefully you like this information. This is a process like anything else. We do need grace. I don't have anyone else to bounce this off of, so I'm working a full-time job. I am a mother, so I do work at this extremely hard every single day. I am slower. It's taken me 10 years to get here. I am slower than most people, but I am 85% Capricorn ISTJ. I don't care how long it takes me. I don't care if I have to write a book. It took me, the first few books that I wrote took me years, 4 or 5 years. This process is getting quicker. I have laid tons and tons of foundation down already. This has been the most challenging thing I have done. This is the most challenging project I have done since the very beginning, but because I've been doing this for so long, I know what information to look at, what to compare it against. I am set in stone with this now. It's probably going to be very hard to change my mind at this point. It's taken me a lot of battling and researching, and I am extremely open to have this conversation on any of these topics with anyone. I'm very open-minded, Aquarian-minded. Very open-minded. I'm also fixated, like I do my own research, and so I'm very open to be proved wrong, but I'm very open to debate as well. I love it. Intellectual stimulation. So anyways, thank you all for being here. Like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. I will see you all in the next video.